Imagine this: Russia and Ukraine, locked in a brutal war with no outside help, no international interventions, no weapons from allies, no sanctions, just two nations battling it out alone. What would happen if the world stood back and let them fight? Today, we explore this controversial what-if scenario, how the war could unfold, and the far-reaching consequences it would have for everyone involved. In the early days, Ukraine braces for a fight they weren't prepared for. With limited resources, Ukrainian forces dig in, preparing makeshift defenses. They're not the only ones here. This is a battle for survival. Every man, woman, and child knows the cost of losing this war. The soldiers in the trenches, huddled under the smoke and explosions, look grim but focused. They are outnumbered, but their determination runs deep. They will fight, even if the odds are against them. On the Russian side, their military is a force of overwhelming power. Russian tanks roll across the battlefield like steel giants. The ground trembles beneath their wheels, and the air hums with the roar of fighter jets overhead. It's clear, Russia's advantage is in its sheer size, its numbers, and its arsenal. Ukrainian forces caught in the crossfire resort to guerrilla tactics, using whatever they can to slow the Russian advance. Yet every step they take, every improvised defense they set up, is met with more firepower. The conflict grows ever more brutal. The hospitals too bear witness to the toll of this war. Inside, doctors and nurses work tirelessly, treating the wounded, civilians and soldiers alike. The air is thick with exhaustion, with the knowledge that there is always someone else who needs help. Supplies are running dangerously low, and the sheer volume of injured people overwhelms the hospital. The staff, though dedicated, are only human. The human cost of this war is not just on the battlefield, it's here, in every room, every treatment, every face that stares back at them, hoping for survival. Meanwhile, the economy begins to crumble. In the cities, markets once bustling with life are now empty. Shelves that were once stocked with goods are bare. Ukraine, once a thriving agricultural hub, finds its resources drained, its people struggling to find basic necessities. Farmers are unable to harvest their crops, factories are shut down, and the economy grinds to a halt. What happens to a country when its economy collapses under the pressure of war? People are left to wonder, how do you rebuild when there's nothing left to rebuild with? And Russia too begins to feel the sting. As the war drags on, the Russian economy buckles under the weight of sanctions and isolation. The market is a shadow of its former self, with shelves half empty, long lines forming as people try to buy what little is available. Factories slow down, their machines unable to keep up with demand. The once proud Russian economy begins to fray at the edges. The people feel it. The government can no longer promise prosperity. It's a grim reality settling in for both countries. As the war drags on, it begins to have a ripple effect across Eastern Europe. Neighbors like Poland and Romania, once secure in their borders, begin to brace for what's coming. The prospect of instability at their doorsteps forces them to prepare. Military patrols increase, tensions rise. No one knows how far this war will spread, but one thing is certain: the region is on edge. The political landscape is shifting, and the fear of what might happen next is all-consuming. In Russia, the government grapples with a growing crisis. Once seen as a global power, Russia now faces increasing isolation. Diplomatic talks are strained, foreign investments are pulled, and the cost of war continues to skyrocket. The officials, once so confident, now find themselves cornered, unsure of how to salvage the nation's future. Their citizens too begin to question, how much longer can this go on? How much more will they have to sacrifice? Across the globe, the consequences of this war begin to unfold. In Eastern Europe, borders shift, nations realign. Former allies reconsider their positions as the balance of power in the region tilts. New conflicts emerge in the wake of a war that has left both Russia and Ukraine weakened. The world watches closely. But in this new age of uncertainty, the question remains: will anyone step in to help, or will this war mark the beginning of a new, unstable era? In the end, this hypothetical scenario leaves us with a sobering question. If the world did nothing, if no one intervened, what would happen to these two nations, to the people caught in the middle? The cost of inaction would be felt for generations. The global community would change forever, and the lessons learned here would shape future conflicts. We may never know what would happen in this alternate reality, but one thing is certain: the consequences of such a war would be far-reaching, and the impact on every single one of us could be more profound than we ever imagined.